Aloha, welcome to the 17th episode of the 9th series of the Temple of Surf, the podcast. Today with us from California, surfboard shaper Roy Sanchez, to discuss with him about the art of shaping surfboards, surfers, and much more. Hi Roy, welcome to the show. Where are you today?
I'm in San Diego, California, in a smaller suburb called Bonita in South San Diego.
Okay. How is the surf nowadays over there? I think there was like a storm or something, isn't it?
It's actually been a really good winter. We're finally getting some rain, but February is our rainy month. I'm not charging the big stuff anymore. I usually tapped out at like double overhead, but it's been a pretty good winter. And then water's dirty with the runoff. I don't get out there as much as I used to, but so far so good. I mean, last winter was amazing, and this one's going really good as well.
Fantastic. So today we're going to talk about many things. Of course, shaping surfboards, which is
that I know.
Very interesting topic on which you have a lot to tell me, of course. First question, anyway, that I have for you is, in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
Go surfing.
Just
the most important thing is go surfing. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, is to have that energy to pack up the surfboard and just going to the beach. And
it's everything. Yeah, go surf.
Yeah, a lot of us do not, as simple as it is as a concept, it means a word for whoever cannot go to surf, right?
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. I mean, some people, it's a couple hours. I mean, for you to go surf, that's a big trip.
Yeah, certainly. But, I mean, also people that are living maybe in Central America or somewhere where there are no waves, in Switzerland, let's say.
Yeah.
The surf pool actually is a good solution to that, because it allows people that have no ocean or sea to surf, even if they are surrounded by mountains.
It's going to change the landscape. It's going to be interesting to see. I like the generation that came up, and this is the next generation, but it's pretty mind-blowing actually that the technology that they can do that,
Like the snowboarding and the X Games, like totally for it. Games about all showing off, let's say.
Well, and then the wave's so consistent. I mean, it's going to be amazing. I mean, they already do amazing stuff. And then that wave's so consistent, which was what we always dreamed of. And now the maneuvers, who knows what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, there was one time that we couldn't even imagine jumping on top of a wave, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
So, and now they're doing a great, crazy jump. And if we look at Kyle Lenny, he's able to do that even in waves like Nazare, So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, some athleticism over there, definitely.
Those things frighten me, man. I'm like an endless summer guy. I just want to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Relax,
Yeah.
Chill. And tell me, how did it start your surfing experience? What was your first wave? Nobody forgets that. So what was your first wave?
That's a great question. And so my dad was drafted into the Navy as a doctor, and he was stationed in Barstow, California.
Okay.
And so we were coming out to San Diego and even LA for the weekends. And my mom's Norwegian, my dad's Peruvian, so they love the ocean. And so, we're going to the beach. And then my parents fell in love with San Diego. So we moved here when I was 6 years old. So that was 1968. And then it was the classic, friends of the family. There was these babysitters were taking the kids to the beach. And sure enough, they invited me to go, and we went to Torrey Pines, and they had the air mattresses. And wow, that was it, all day in the water. I came home just rashed and sunburnt, and that was it.
But that was with air mattresses, right? So
yeah, air mattress. And then
when it happened, the shift to surfboard.
Well, The Norwegian side, we're always like anti-motorized. They're big hikers, cross-country skiers. And so we were always really into, sports that didn't need a motor. So, and then I also grew up competitively swimming.
Okay.
But when I started surfing, I quit that. So long story short, I'm a boogie boarder, I'm a body surfer, and then I'm tagging along with my friends whose older brothers surf. And so they're surfing, and then they just start giving me a hard time, like, oh, come on, you gotta stand up, and give you a hard time. So when I was 16, I finally stood up on my first wave. Funny enough, I remember the air mattress thing, but I don't remember my first wave. But I would imagine we were going to OB, so it would have to have been in Ocean Beach.
What was your surfboard?
So at that time, I think it was an Infinity, just I don't remember. It was a white board. I'm just glad it didn't hurt me.
Okay.
I mean, we were leashed up too with the surgical tubing and the rope. I mean, woof, these things are dangerous.
Of course. And so from that time, how was the transition between enjoying surf and start shaping? Somebody teach you? How did you learn?
It was pretty quick because, for me, my parents are both, I'm first generation American. So it was always trying to fit in, try to be cool. I can surf, but, I wasn't a standout surfer. I loved to surf. And then I started seeing I was good at working with my hands and making stuff. My grandfather was a boat builder in Norway.
Okay.
And so it's in the blood. And, then I read some article, real surfers have made their own board. So three of my friends, we all went to Mitch's surf shop, bought our first blank. And this is right at the end of the single fin. Then the tri-fins are just starting to kind of show up. So it's the early 80s. Yeah, I shaped my first board in 81. So I've already graduated high school. But, it was a funny thing. It was a funny quote that I think Corky Carroll said about surfing is like heroin. And the same thing goes for shaping. Like everybody shapes now. They just, you do one, you want to do another. And so I got hooked. My friends' boards, my friends know, and then I got hooked. And then, I'm in, I don't know how, I'm doing this stuff in the garage barefoot. I'm in the floor of my parents' garage is still stained. I don't know how I got away with that with my dad. My mom must have been just going, oh no, leave him alone. He's doing something,
Okay.
So, but I was hooked on making the boards, and that pretty quick led into, the friends. It's the classic. Friends want boards.
Yeah.
And then I lucked out through Mitch. There was, it was a shop that specialized in doing inexpensive glass jobs called Star Glassing in Brownfield. And so I didn't want to wait tables or bust tables or anything like that. So I got the opportunity to really get my feet wet at Star Glassing, which was Tony DeLeo, east of IB in Brownfield. And so my first job was foiling fins, and not much teaching, it's like, here it is. That's what I want. Do it. I mean, I was actually foiling fins at home, and it was crazy. And then polishing surfboards from there, and then from polishing surfboards into sanding. And then Mitch actually gave me a job shaping boards. I'm not kidding. I would have done it for free. But it was $5 a shape. I was getting paid, and they were so bad I got fired. But I got to mow foam. I mean, all I cared about was mowing foam. So it was an awesome. The tri-fin hit, and so if you could make a board with 3 fins on it, you were in business. And it's funny, I haven't seen a gold rush like that since COVID.
Wow.
And so that tri-fin hit, and so I opened my own little factory in Brownfield. Was making a bunch of boards for Imperial Beach, made boards for the local pros down there, as we all did. Like there's 3 or 4 of us. We were all fighting over the local pros. But yeah, that's the long and the short of it.
So it is an addictive process, the one of shaping surfboard, right?
A what?
Addictive.
Oh yes, it's absolutely addicting. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you say yourself, you finish one, you want to shape the other one. There is so much in finishing than making, right?
Oh, it's especially like you start to write them, and then you start to learn this and that, what's working, what's not working. And the neat thing about the tri-fin surfboard is an apex design. that tri-fin shortboard never became obsolete. Nobody can really claim it. It's the culmination of, geez, millions of man hours. If something works, we would steal it from that guy, and then he'll steal from us. And I mean, it was pretty fun. Like, it was really moving forward.
Okay.
You know,
there was no intellectual property back then, right?
no way. They might try to. I mean, maybe a couple, but no way.
Okay, that looks good. And so starting for shape for like somebody else, like Mitch, or shaping your own brands, shaping for pro surfers. What was the key learning that you had from those initial years?
It's I'm still learning. I'm still learning all the time, and I pride myself on being a builder. So I'm not just a shaper. I build boards start to finish. I'm kind of like in a semi-retired state right now. I work out of my home. I build the board start to finish. It's kind of cool. And also, as a shaper, you learn to really appreciate the other guys, because those guys get no recognition. I mean, talk about a polisher. That job sucks. And it's like a perfect polish. That is a really hard thing to do. Like, if a kid asks me, well, how would I learn how to shape? I tell them, well, glass 12 boards, shaping glass a dozen boards, talk to me again. Or what job should I get? Polish, or even working on cars in a body shop, because you learn how to make things straight and ferret things out. But with the tri-fin boom, my heroes were Eric Arakawa. I learned from a guy named Kim Purrington, who was a ghost shaper for Arakawa at the time. I learned a lot from him. He was just, he's still at it. He's in Hawaii. I met Arakawa one time, but I was all shaky. I was meeting God. Pat Rawson is somebody that I really hold in high regard. So I started, and I was working by myself at Brownfield, and I really found that I started to go stale, because I wasn't underneath senior guys. And so I needed to put myself in the loop somehow, some way. If you want to progress at this, because it was progressing, and you need to get yourself with these people. And my dream come true. I mean, I got to work for my heroes. So I got to work for Pat Rawson for a couple of years. I got to even before that, to Gary McNabb. I've been helping Gary McNabb, the man that introduced the tri-fin to the United States. I mean, for me, that guy's top 3 in the world, and nobody really talks about him. He's not really a glory hound, but that guy, he can shape anything, and he shapes them good. Like, his boards, I want to ride. If I didn't shape, that'd be the guy's boards I'm riding. But and then you get married, you have kids, and now it's like, well, you either get a real job, in this industry, or you got to go get a real job. And I was really lucky. I got a tryout with Rusty, and I got to shape for Rusty for about 10 years. And in the meantime, like, I'm doing Rusty, I'm at Diamond Glassing, I'm shaping Encinitas surfboards, the longboards for John Keys, another great shaper. And learn. I mean, all these guys, just by watching, you just watch these guys, and you just learn so much, and they all have a different take. In that respect, I mean, let's talk about Rusty. Then I get to work with Rick Hammond, Toy Runnels, Terry Goldsmith, Mike Russo. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We're hanging out, joking around, and I'm looking at, learning everything I can. I was with Rusty when Chester was with them, which was a huge loss. But man, at that time, his boards were cutting edge for sure. I'm just taking that information and putting it into my boards directly.
So yeah, it was in your mind. You have a huge database. You have seen it all, basically.
Yeah, just about. I mean, I even got to work with CI for a little bit, doing some production shaping. I think I was with them for a couple of years. And then later on, I started finish shaping for Bing and Christensen, which was another gee whiz. I mean, the hard thing about those guys is they're younger than me. So I'm thinking, rookie. Like, I learned a lot from them, especially Matt Calvani. Yeah, I learned a lot from him, in that finish shaping, the woodwork, and all that stuff. And he learned from the legends, Jacobs, and guys like that. So it's been a nice experience as far as shaping.
It's just like I'm totally speechless. You said so many names. No, yeah, because I was thinking initially, like I don't know, Pat Rawson was behind the success of Tom Carroll. Then you talk about Eric Arakawa, that was a legend, of course, that is behind Andy Irons, and then you
Yeah.
in the modern and it's like modern era, and wow, it's like just like so many faces, so many names. I'm confused. No, but it's great, because not a lot of people, they recognize the value of the shipping industry behind the pro surfers, right? Or the normal surfer, even, they all help us to do better when we are shipping.
What's it? The whole thing's the whole sport is absolutely exploded, and so it's just like I never. Well, for me, look, it was survival. I mean, this is the work, you figure it out, and you either get it right or you don't get the work. Like you're out. But as a result of that, man, I have a huge experience with all kinds of shapers and such.
I was thinking about your grandfather when you told me that your grandfather was a boat builder, right?
Yeah, he built boats in Norway, wooden boats, not even fiberglass.
And in a certain way, the genes went through your family to you, because one thing that I found very interesting from the early surfers, so we will go back maybe to the 70s, is that somehow each one of them, or shapers, in effect, not surfers, each one of them had to do something to do with both repairing or both building. So when you told me that, I was like doing 1 plus 1, So I guess your grandfather never built a surfboard. Or he tried.
No, but I consider him the first surfer in the family. He was one of 12 on a farm. There was three brothers that went to sea, became sailors, fishermen, and they were disowned. And so he learned to make barrels, and then that led into building boats. I believe he was born in 1898. And I actually got to meet him in the Christmas of 72. We flew to Norway,
Okay.
and I got to go see his shop. It changed my life. He gave me I still have the knife, a wood carving for carving wood. I mean, and he wasn't, he was a pretty quiet. He was a farm boy, quiet, pretty tough. Talked a lot of story. That was pretty funny. He was a chain smoker, and grandma would, they lived in state housing, and they had a potbelly stove to heat, and he could only smoke if he exhaled into the stove. So he talked story and blew. It was, yeah, that was life changing for me.
Oh, I guess yes, that can be important. So we talk about your first wave, but what was best wave of your?
Oh man, yeah, you nailed the questions. Like you remember your best waves and your worst wipeouts, right?
Yes.
And the sad thing is, a lot of time your worst wipeouts the same day you got your best wave.
So,
And so I have top two. There's Torrey Pines is a crummy beach break around here in San Diego. It's like it because it doesn't get crowded, never got localized, mostly because it sucks. But I can go enjoy the ocean. Every now and then it gets good. Like every beach break has its day. And there's this one break in the middle of in the middle of the river, the valley there. Doesn't break all the time. Uh, Went out there. It was, good double overhead, just beautiful conditions, glassy, warm. It was even like middle of the day or something. Took my pregnant wife down there. She was on the beach reading the magazine, and I pick off this just beautiful wave, and it's like I'll never forget just dropping down that thing, and I'm seeing the Torrey Pines cliffside there, and it's like wow, and it's like don't move, because it was like I didn't get barrel, but it was like right there. I mean, oh man, rode that thing all the way to the beach, turned around, and I was like, okay, I got you now, and just got smoked by the next set, and it broke my leash, and like literally just washed me up onto the out on the beach. I go, well, that's that. And I go to my wife at the time, and did you see that? She's like, see what? And there was another time at the wall, a place called Wimps and Gimps. We surfed till past dark. It was just fun. and it was a full moon. And so I was like, "Ah, I'm gonna get one more wave," and you could almost not even see it hardly. And I never do the night surfing, but it was just that fun. This wave can break pretty long, and so I get this one wave, and again, just set it up, small wave with the full moon kind of in front of me, and I just rode the heck out of that thing. It was like I was surfing in space. I'll never forget that. And I surfed that thing so long. It took me so long to walk back to the camp. The guys, Dad, we were getting worried about you. We're about ready to paddle out, trying to find you. But those are the ones that really stick out.
Okay, now so back to shaping. There is always a question that I ask all the time to the shapers is what is the most important thing in shape?
The most important thing in shaping? Oh man, great question. I mean, you could write a book on that. I mean, it's everything. That's actually the challenge. That is the challenge of shaping. Is well, everything's important. Everything is important. Especially with a high performance shortboard. When the board is kind of on the edge of flotation, it's for pipeline and these places. I mean, Waimea. I mean, that's why Rawson is like, I'm going to risk my life. I'm getting a Rawson. You know, you're going to risk your life. Get a Rawson. And those things, everything has to fire just right. You get a little bit more leeway with the fun boards, but even at that, you get a lot more out of them if you really put some thought into it. I have to say the most important thing for me, I have a saying, it's clean lines always win. I've ripped that off from some ad in the 70s. I don't know what brand it was. And I really try to stay away from gimmicks. I understand it. You know, they look cool, sells the board, got it, product, you know, need to sell it. If you do, but stay away from the gimmicks, go clean lines. That means everything, the flow, the outline, everything. The first lesson I always taught with McNabb, outline. Don't even move forward if your outline sucks. You can't move forward because that thing's going to haunt you. I mean, every little thing. And then make it so the glasser doesn't want to kill you. You know, when you set it down the way, you set every guy in that factory sets the other guy up for success. And I've seen this where guys will come to blows because the guy before him, like, come on, man, give me a break here. So you really, if you make an effort to set those glassers up for success, they like you pretty quick, and then you can start leaning on for favors. You know,
Yeah.
I'd say clean lines, like just stick to the basics of what a board is. Keep it clean. Then you want to embellish. That's fine.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, but
That's what I think is really disappearing. Valid theory. They're chasing a fashion statement, which is fine. I mean, it's cool, but they're really losing a lot of valid theory that was discovered, 20, 30 years ago, which you can put it into any type of board, but it's like your tool bag. It's valid.
no, definitely. You know, a bit of space for everybody right out there. Though in a certain way, especially you people that you said it before. I'm almost retired, and we're gonna go back on that.
Shoot. I just got off the phone with my dad yesterday, and he's 83, and he's all upset because he finally retired, and he's a mess. And so I think it's just one of those things. Like physically, I can't do that heavy lifting anymore, but can't quit. And actually, it's pretty funny. A couple of times the industry's got pretty slow, so I retired twice from Rusty. And so they're okay, well, good luck. Then I came back because I missed it. And the second time, that's it, I retire. And like, we'll see you in 6 months. and they were right.
You're not credible anymore when you're
No, they just laughed. They just laughed at me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was also thinking and laughing about that. I'm almost retired.
Yeah.
What you wanted to say, and what you meant with that. Well,
Well, if you get the phone call from the bigger company, hey man, we need you. Like, okay.
like in COVID time, like the industry was booming. It's more directly.
Yeah, man, who saw that coming? That was a gold rush. That gold rush is over now, but boy, it was fun while it lasted. Yeah.
Again, for what I understood from all the interviews, the bottleneck was not so much on the shaping side, but was more on the glassing, right?
Yeah, I mean, so that was the beauty of having my own operation. So I wasn't held hostage by the glass shops. I felt it was kind of nice for the glass shops because they're always treated horribly. And it's kind of nice that finally the glass shops kind of like, hey, I always felt that
And
they needed they needed a little bit more respect, because they really don't get any respect. And a glass shop that's been around for a while and making money, like wow. I mean, the only time I ever made money was production shaping.
yeah.
The other thing too was the pop outs from overseas were all held up on the ships. So that created the opportunity for the local builders. They needed us. The shops had no boards. Old school board builders, I mean, we don't do ourselves any favors, take too long, and then we haven't been all that great a bunch of guys. We're all a bunch of characters, And overseas is, geez, I mean, the boards are making now nice. It used to be like, oh, I kind of like the boards. Like, oh, and I love them. Like, well, that's that.
Yeah.
I still, for me, the local custom, there is still that person that wants that interaction. So now I really, really throw out the red carpet for those customs. And it's nice when they're for sure, if they're a better surfer, they're looking for that local experience. I'll even invite them to be in the shaping room when I shape the board, which is, bring your boards. What are we doing? And so that early on shaping, that's what we would train for was, a custom board, like the guys there, where are we going, what do we want, and brainstorm, and not so much my trip of what you should get, but tell me what you want, and let's see if we can come up with something that you want to go to.
Was there once a customer that gave you like a feedback that you were not expecting, something like to improve your board that you were like, oh my God, this guy is right? No?
Absolutely. So for me, like when the customer picks up the board, oh, it's great and everything, I'm just like, well, if your ride's great, that's all I want to, my goal is I want to deliver that ride experience. And I'll actually tell them when I try something different, I go, and you need to tell me the truth, okay? Don't just tell me something to make me feel good. I need honest feedback from you. And yeah, sometimes you don't get, you get that feedback, but it's important. So I really feel like I tend to deliver that ride experience a lot more often now than not. I feel for these people trying to get boards now. There is so much to choose from, and it's like I find a lot of people not getting the ride experience that they were sold. And we don't have the formula for a magic. If I had the formula for them, I've been 40 years, 30,000 boards. I should know how to make a magic board. I don't.
I mean,
It's still a hard thing to catch. Now, I would say my boards tend to work more often than not lately.
you're playing gamble with me, but
you gotta be, man. You gotta be. Ego's a killer in this industry. I've seen it. I've seen it too many times. And then nobody wants to be around you. I mean, you know what I miss the most? The guys at the factories. I miss that a lot. I mean, there all those big factories. There's a few left now. Paizel's cranking. My good friend, and Paizel, man, he really picked up some guys that needed some work. I mean, props to him. And he's a waterman. I mean, man, really cool thing he brought to Oceanside. And my friend Jeff Morgan, Global Glassing, out there. There's a survivor.
difficult to make a living with surfboard. You were saying before.
Yeah.
Do,
But those guys, like Jeff Morgan's a comedian. I mean, there's so much characters and you get all that drama. It just helps the day go by.
okay.
You have good guys, scoundrels, crook, he's a priest. I mean, we've seen it all.
So your line of surfboards, you have different shapes, sorry. Is there one that you like particularly the most? I know that you love all of them, most probably. But is there a particular, maybe a longboard, a fish, or I don't know, something that you like, you personally to shape?
That's a really good question. And that question was asked of me a while back, and it really stumped me because I really pride myself on being able to shape all of it and shaping it well. And so I wanted to come off like they're all my favorite. The truth of the matter is because of my grandfather boat building, and then I started getting into shaping longer boards to train for shaping big wave guns. Haven't shaped that many guns, shape a lot of longboards, but it's the glider. That's my favorite board to shape because it's almost a canoe, you know? And so, and that a hand shaped board over 11 feet, that's when you start to pull away from everybody. And I really do enjoy making those. And I'm honored when somebody, because that's the most expensive board I make. And so when the guy ponies up for 11, 12 footer, like, dude, it's gotta, it's gotta be on. And those boards, I'm hesitant, I try to feel out like, hey, can this guy surf? Because in the lineup, those things are dangerous, you know.
Yeah.
And some of those guys, they just surf them wonderfully. I mean, it's neat to see.
Yeah, definitely. Very huge. Yeah, like
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I don't get it. I tap out at 10 feet, 10 feet's my max. I'll try them, okay, that's cool, but it's too much board, too much board. 10 feet's too much.
Let's talk about we talk about shapers, glasses. We talk about the industry a bit. Let's talk about surfers. Was there actually it's a question that I ask sometimes on the show. I ask the same to you. Was there a meeting with a surfer, famous or not famous, that was particularly meaningful for you?
I've been mostly a production guy. I've never had a chance to really make boards. I've made a few, I've got a chance to, but I've never really interacted with the pros, the people, that are, world class surfers that much. I mean, through the years, I've heard through the grapevine, some of them riding my boards and really liking them, but so it just wasn't in the cards for me to really be at that level. Now, I will tell you this: good surfers, they can surf anything, and I've had the experience where I make a guy 12 boards. It's a trade-in program, and he sells them all. Never rode them, but he's telling me they ride great. So the pros are a funny one. It depends. Like maybe now they're making more money. Back then, I mean, they were scratching. It was like they would say whatever, do whatever to just work an angle. And sometimes it just like, I don't trust them. Recently, I was making boards for a really good surfer. He made him a board and he's like, this is the greatest board of all time. And, this and that, because he wants to work with me. He needs something from me. It was great. Right away, I made a board for a friend of mine who's also very good. It was the exact style of board he was looking for. I go, okay, let's confirm this. He goes, yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Like, okay. So I tell you what, like I said, great. And you've seen it on those, those guys, those shows where the guy rides, it's all the same board by different shapers, and you'll come in, yeah, the guy's ripping. This one sucks. This one rips. Like, okay. I mean, you can just tell that they're just such good surfers. I've actually found that these amazing surfers, they get bored. They're going to ride something because they want to be challenged. They want the challenge of something different. And so I've had a lot more success with, not famous, but good surfers, and working with them. And so there's one in particular, so the team rider I had, guy from Hawaii, Rob Farrell. He was, he had some marginal success, shortboarding and longboarding, and he just won't let me go. Like there's times I haven't made boards for a while, and it's like, dude, let me go, dude. It's it. And he goes, no, man, I can't. But we've worked on boards for, it's 30 years. My gosh. And we've come up with some really, really good designs that everybody likes. He did a stint with Surf Tech as the marketing, and he had me do a line of boards for them called EMQ, Every Man's Quiver. And he was pretty much he was the inspiration behind those designs. And the boards were known for working. One in particular was the Heat Winner. No, that was the Revelation, which is now we call the Heat Winner. And then the Thumb Drive was another one that was meant to compete with the Biscuit.
Wow. So much information. Good. Sure. Is there I hope, a shaper, a young shaper that you particularly admire today?
Everybody's kinder, gentler now, but for me coming up, like nobody put their arm around me and said, "Come on, kid, I'm going to teach you everything." And like for me, and I love this, so it's just a me, that rougher on the edges type of interaction, which is not okay anymore. And I get it. I mean, it's back then. Like if you weren't tough, like they're hurting your feelings. And so, if I get around certain people, I'm the eternal rookie. I've been at it 40 years. Well, they've been at it 50 or 60. I'm always going to be the rookie. And so for me, I always look at the young guys, like even Calvani, 10 years younger than me. What up, rookie? Then you can see he's got game. I've worked with him. And so I see there's so many out there. But I tell you what I do see. I think it's a myth when the old guys say, "Oh, these kids these days, they don't get." That's a myth. They're out there. I've come across some young men that are natural craftsmen.
Yeah.
And their passion is surfboards. And I've have a couple few, and I've invited them to my factory. I go, I'm at the point where like, okay, you know the questions to ask, and I've got it to give. I'm not holding this back anymore. What's the questions? How can I help you? Type of thing. And it's neat when you see that all they had to do, like myself, was just they needed to see it one time.
Yeah.
And my thing is like, I'm not going to tell you this is the right or wrong way to do it. Like my way is the only way. You just need to see it through another. You just need to see the way I do it. And if you like it, great. If not, no worries. But at least it's in your head. I love those guys. That's in the industry. You got to be able to pick it up quick. You don't get much time to like figure it out. You got to get it on the fly.
Only a true craftsman can feel with the hand, or and
Yeah,
mentally, and
yeah.
or take all the best part of and make his own. So
That's what I think that's the one thing I'm really worried about that's getting lost. And you see it in other industries. Let's just take cars, like the Duesenberg, they're one off. There's that whole handmade angle to these things where there's like working for Pat Ross, and his boards are beautiful. Okay. He makes Ferraris. And so I'm working for him. I'm trying to learn. There was just something about his boards that just like, wow, it's like, that thing's insane. Why? Why is that thing? This thing's the same as that, numbers and everything, but why does this look better? And Rick Hammond called it the art of illusion. And I'm not kidding. Ross would come in and I would spend all this time on this board. Okay, that's it. And my goal was like, he's not going to touch this board because it's perfect. And he'd come in there and he'd, smoking a cigar sometimes. And, oh, yeah. He'd look at it. Oh, and he's really nice. He'd like pick up a tool and all of a sudden, the board just got insane. And so how do you teach that? Describe it. It's hard, but there's certain boards like they'll catch your eye. You'll stop. Like, why is this board insane? This one's basically the same, but I don't like it. And let's just say it's a clear sand finish. It's not about the color. It's about the shape. So, you start really studying these things. Why is this pleasing to the eye and that isn't? And, that really helps to inspire you and keep you engaged and moving forward.
So talking about moving forward, before you will almost retire.
Oh, you got me on that one.
Sorry, I have to, twist the finger into the wound.
Oh, yeah. No, that's good fun.
Is there projects that you're maybe working on that you want to realize in the next month here to come? Something you're cooking? Or
man, I'm always cooking up something. Right now, I'm kind of focusing on working with Kenny Lewis, and I've always been an avid collector of old surfboards. And for me, when I was coming up, for one, we didn't know about them. I would go up to the old guys and say, "What do you want to know? Those boards didn't work." And then the retro movement comes, and now, now they want to know everybody to know. But for me, restoring and repairing boards, and especially there's some that are historically significant. So I think we're kind of moving into this zone where, like archaeologists preserve things for display, and you need to really, like, even cars, you know, everybody looks like at an old board that it's worth something. Yes, you see dollar signs, but it's really, we're now need to start preserving some of these things for history. And so I'm really trying to come up with a system, and every board has its time, its era, the color correct, all those kind of things, that you are preserving what the board was, instead of just like, I'm going to give it a fancy paint job and try to get $1 million for it. Some of these things are, no, they shouldn't be restored. I mean, you're seeing all the bugs in the glass job. I mean, you see some really neat things, and you just get tickled. I picked up a Gordy the other day, an early '60s Gordy with the bent stringers. I'm looking at that thing. I don't even know how I couldn't do that. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. There are things.
Yeah. Well, restoring boards.
Yeah.
It'd be restoring boards.
And in effect, there is a topic, right? Because I guess every collector has that board that he decided to restore, and then he kind of regret to have it touched. Because
Yeah.
much better than restored. And then restored, if it's not like a masterpiece, sometimes can ruin the board.
Yeah, it's tricky. And I tended to like mint. It's just like cars, right? Mint, original condition, that's it, top of the heap, and then you start working backwards from there. I like the ones that are still, just look like it was cared for. But then you come across what we call roaches, like this board's trash. I've had boards that were like perfectly delaminated, and the foam didn't cave in, which is like, okay. And just the glass comes right off, tune it up a little bit, and then I don't do a cover up. I show the foam.
Yeah. I agree with you that the way it should be. From one side, you preserve, but in the other side, you do in a certain way. You preserve the shape, especially and shape of people that time. So
yeah, that's a big part. And if not, you just, hey, it's melted a little bit, it's slightly altered. I mean, you let people know.
We're gonna finish our interview with a short session, so that is the time finally for you to reveal some secrets. So here we go, and things trouble for sure. Some question, but let's see. The best surfboard that you ever rode?
Man, that's a tough one. There's a lot of good ones, but it tends to be a 9.6 high performance longboard, 17, 22, 15-inch tail. Early on, 2 3/4, now getting closer to 3 inches thick, but made by me. I'll get a board. Like, I've got a couple of Skip Fries. I got a board from John Hawley. Great boards. I'll get a board every now and then from Gary McNabb when he's got something like, oh, I gotta get one of those, make one of those for me. But that's been my go-to board.
Great. Your favorite surfer of all time?
Gosh, that's just too hard. That's like somebody asked me my favorite movie. Like, there's too many. I tell you what, I mean, growing up for me, it was Lopez, Mark Richards, Sean Thompson. Boom. And then, that was my era. I mean, of course, Kelly, he's the greatest of all time. I really like Josh Kerr. That guy charges big waves. I mean, and then he surfs, he can longboard the retro style, rips on a fish, but he knows that the fish has its own style. And then he's just an amazing shortboarder. Josh Kerr really, really blew my mind. I just love the fact that he was able to jump around on boards and then the big wave surf. Like, my gosh, this guy's insane.
Yeah. Personal question: your favorite song or kind of music?
Oh man, he did it to me again.
I will do it for 3 more questions, so be ready.
Oh goodness. Well, Johnny Cash, When the Man Comes Around.
Not bad. Favorite surf spot, if it's not a secret?
Well, by default, it's Torrey Pines because it's the only place I surf.
Okay. Now I will get you in trouble. Favorite shaper of all time?
Gary McNabb.
Oh, but you went very fast, more than the surfer one. But you mentioned it a couple of times in the video. Sorry.
You know, I wish I could say I'm more of a craftsman than a surfer. I mean, I surf. I love to surf, but I'm more of a surfboard builder, and so for me, my surfer is the shaper. And for the longest time, my number one was Pat Rawson, but Gary McNabb has edged him out for me because he shapes everything. I mean, I went over there one day and he's making the foil board and the wings by hand. And it's not just that. And his boards work. Like even stand-ups. This guy makes stand-ups that rip, you know? And he's just cruising. I mean, he doesn't. He's just cruising, you know? Yeah, it's Gary McNabb.
And in effect, there is a bonus question that I ask right after the favorite song that I just forgot to ask you. So I will rewind a bit and ask you, in the shaping room, are you blasting the music on, or you are listening to the sound of making a sort of romantic approach to shaping?
Yeah. So for sure, for the longest time, it wasn't really so much I had to have a certain music. So it was always radio stations.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm telling like blues, rock and roll. You know what it is? It's not even music. For some reason, I need to have some sort of background noise. So I finally got bored of radio. Then I was into talk radio. And then those guys started driving me nuts. I started noticing my blood pressure go up because I'm paying attention. So now I listen to the radio, the sports radio. Okay. 760 out here in San Diego. So yeah, it's not. For me, the music was more like the drive to Mexico and that kind of stuff.
Okay. You don't do it in silence.
No, definitely not silence. No, I gotta have some sort of noise.
The last question is a little bit unusual. I like to know your best relationship advice.
Relationship advice.
You have some good ones for us.
Well, that's a tough one for me to answer because I don't practice what I preach, you know? And so I would have to say I think it's biblical. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and even slower to anger. And so I'm a horrible listener, and so I find myself really getting ahead of myself. I need to just listen. Yeah.
We all need to do that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everywhere. Thank you so much for being with me on the show today. And
my pleasure. Great questions, man.
You know,
great questions.
I get through it in a very nice way. So it's okay.
Right on.
It's great. Thank you so much. And looking forward to talk to you very soon.
Yes, and look forward to see you here in San Diego someday.
One day, for sure. I have so many friends.
Right on, man. Take care. Be safe.
Ciao. You too. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!